like a montage.
I know. I was thinking that the other day.
Something cool. We'll work on that. We were
Need a
just all
jingle.
right. Well, now we're live and we don't have that. We're talking about getting like an intro song or like something special. But yeah, this
All
is
other
coming.
podcasts have an intro.
Yeah. Well, we've come a long way. So if you're just joining us
Yeah.
live here, you're watching recording, welcome to the Med Matrix Method podcast, where we talk about functional medicine, root cause solutions, living longer, living stronger with functional medicine. My name is Cole Seifer. I'm one of the co-founders of Med Matrix, and I'm here with the absolutely brilliant Dr. Colin Renaud. Colin, Dr.
Hi,
Colin,
Cole.
so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. It's a chiller day for me because I'm coming off a full week of patient visits. So it's a kind of a wind down day. Your brain gets a little tired after days and days of taking care of people. So
you do a sprint for 4 days long, just all day.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So it's a little bit, it's time for a little self-care and, got to take care of myself so I can take care of other patients.
Totally. Yeah, man. So really excited about today where we're talking about our favorite anti-aging hacks, therapies, kind of breaking some misconceptions. So for those who don't know you, why don't you give a little background on just like what is anti-aging medicine? You actually hold the fellowship, right, in anti-aging medicine. Can you explain that?
Yeah, my background is a little bit diverse. I'm one of the full-time practitioners at Med Matrix. I have a background in chiropractic medicine. I have a master's degree in nutrition. I practice medicine as a PA, and I hold multiple board certifications. One of them is I'm a diplomate in anti-aging medicine, as well as I'm fellowship trained with the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. So I've learned in that training, I've learned a lot about peptides and hormones and longevity medicine. Really, as you said a few seconds ago, just we strive to live longer and how to optimize our health. So that's kind of how I've been taught in some advanced training post my traditional college years. So it's something I love talking about. We talk a lot about it on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I talk about it a lot with my patients. And we've talked a lot about this before on the podcast. And I think this is becoming much more streamlined, especially in maybe the younger generations. It's all over social media. It's all over TikTok and Instagram. Wellness trends and how to live longer and how to look better and how to feel better. So I think it's a really great topic to discuss on a podcast.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, just to recap what you said here for those, because anti-aging medicine is something people have been hearing a lot about lately, especially things like peptides. So by your definition, what is anti-aging medicine?
I guess you could look at it in different ways. So I'm not a dermatologist. I'm not a plastic surgeon. I'm not a cosmetic surgeon.
But anti-aging isn't just about looks.
That's right. So I'm just, giving a disclaimer. So anti-aging can be a outside, you can look at anti-aging sort of the part of healthcare that's a lot of aesthetics, the aesthetic treatments, Botox, fillers, surgery, lasers, peels, the skincare, that's a huge part of healthcare and the wellness industry. But I think at Med Matrix, we focus on anti-aging really as an internal systems focus, where we're looking at how the body ages from the inside, which can translate into how you look outside, how you feel, how you function, how you age, how you, live day to day. So anti-aging, really, the way I look at it is you're taking care of your body on the outside, of course, but you're also taking care of your body on the inside, which translates to longevity, feeling good as you age. So it's really an inside outside type approach, but without me actually doing cosmetic treatments on patients, I don't do that. I am teaching patients how to age well, live long, live well. And I use the word proactive aging all the time, where you're not trying to necessarily anti-age by reversing aging that's already occurred, but age in a proactive way so that you feel good, you have longevity. So that's kind of how I explain it to people. That's kind of my philosophy on healthcare in general.
Yeah. Is that something that you feel like everyone should be doing, is proactive aging? Like what?
I mean, yeah, if, how many patients do I see in any given time that will say to me, I've just let myself go, or I just feel like I'm too far gone, or I'm only X age. I feel like I look, act, feel a lot older than I actually am.
Mhm.
And I feel like we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. Dr. Rose, who my colleague at MedMatrix, we've talked about this on the podcast a lot. And we sort of say we help people kind of play catch up a little bit, where they might be at a certain age, but they feel a lot older because they haven't taken care of themselves. So I've said this 100 times. Who you are at age 50 is the product of what you do in your 20s and 30s. Same thing when you're 70 years old. You know, it's a product of what you were doing at 50. So this idea of proactive aging is taking care of your health, being proactive about making time to take care of yourself from a physical, mental, nutrition, physical activity, all those things, because it really turns into how you feel every day. And like I was saying, so many of our patients will talk about they just feel so much older. They look so much older. And it really is a product of their lifestyle that they've had for many years, decades, stresses of life. So I think everybody needs to proactively age in their own way. And it's not Botox fillers necessarily. Not that I'm against those things. It's just, you know, if you're not proactively aging, then you as a physical, mental, and I guess fully functional person as you age is going to start to decline. We want to feel good at any age.
Yeah.
I think that's a big point. And most patients are told that that's not feasible. We've said that on the podcast a lot, you know, especially women as they go through hormonal change, or men as their testosterone gets low. It's like, well, this is just how it goes. You know, you're 50, you're 60. Sorry, you know, you just have to deal with it. And I just don't think that's fair. But that's kind of the way the medical model does things with patients. But that's not our philosophy at MedMatrix. We try to strive to have patients live their best life at any age.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I asked you this, I feel like every time we're on the show, but I think it's really important because a lot of patients, I think you already know what I'm going to ask you, because a lot of patients just don't know, and they're kind of trapped in, there's, you know, opportunity for them to just be healthier and fitter and have more energy, and they don't understand like why. And a lot of it is a system issue. So when patients are being told like, yeah, you're just getting older. Like, obviously, most doctors are good people and want to help and want to see patients
100%.
be successful. It's not like it's not a doctor issue. It's more of a system issue. So, why are patients hearing that so often?
I think it's just the way that I think, as you said, it's a systemic issue. It's a healthcare system issue. In the United States, we don't put healthcare as a proactive thing. Healthcare is very reactive. And what I mean by that is you seek healthcare most often when you have a problem. You know, you have an accident, you're in a car accident, you fall down the stairs, you need surgery, you know, all those things, or you start feeling something. I don't feel good. I have a gut problem. I'm feeling run down. My hair's falling out. I'm gaining weight. So a lot of healthcare is something has already happened to me, so I'm seeking advice from a professional to help me with a symptom of some kind. In other countries, and sort of the way our philosophy at MedMatrix and just our philosophy as functional medicine practitioners is, well, you should be striving to improve your health day to day, even if you don't feel like something's wrong. And that's really what proactive aging is I am what's the word? I'm passionate about taking care of my health so I don't ever feel bad. You know, I want to eat well, I want to exercise, I want to have good nutrition, I want to drink a lot of water, I want to get out and get activity, get sunlight, sleep well, all these things that we talk about on this podcast all the time, so that I don't have to rely on the healthcare system to take care of me when I don't feel well. Obviously, that happens, right? We can't prevent all illness, but the idea of healthcare as proactive is not the way the system is built in this country, unfortunately. It is like that in other parts of the world, but in the American insurance-based model of healthcare, we don't put anti-aging from like a longevity perspective as a forefront. And that's really, I think, the basic problem. It's a lot more it's a lot deeper than that. It's not that simple, but that's kind of a reductionist version of what we see. So, because I just think the healthcare system is not built for wellness care. There's not enough time. There's not enough practitioners. There's not enough education. Health providers don't really get education on nutrition. They don't get education on proactive things. So it becomes just a sick care model. You just go to your doctor when you're sick,
Yeah.
So, and I have patients that I've treated over the years. I've been doing this over 10 years now. And I've had patients show up to their doctors without concerns, trying to be proactive, and they get a little shunned. Like, you're wasting my time. You really should be, I don't have time to be doing stuff with you. Why do you want advanced testing? You're not sick. You're good. Like, come back to me when you have a problem. So it's really a philosophical thing.
Yeah. And I imagine that's hard too for conventional providers because they have a lot of patients. I mean, their patient panels are in the thousands per a single provider.
Oh, yeah.
While Mid-Matrix, it's in the few hundreds. So you just have that bandwidth.
It's much different.
To, know all of your patients' names and things like that. But like, yeah, you have a patient who's like, you have a lot of patients out of the thousands that are like actually really sick and like really need a lot of attention. So when you have someone coming in who's like, hey, I want to lose a couple pounds, like get off some meds, it's like, I don't have time for you. Right. Like
you mean like in the conventional model of healthcare? Yeah. Unfortunately, well, what ends up happening is those patients come to see us. They come and see us because they're getting patients. It's not that patients are unintelligent, but they're becoming much smarter at not just conforming to the system. Because many years ago, before like social media and before a lot of information was able to be shared amongst the masses, you listened to your doctor. And if you didn't, you might be let go from your doctor. You weren't respected if you questioned your doctor's authority. But nowadays, a lot of people are like, no, I don't accept this. All my doctor wants to do is just put more medicine on my roster. I don't feel well. They're just increasing doses. I'm not getting better. I'm still overweight. I'm still really diabetic. So they're becoming a lot more in tune with, I don't want to accept this model of healthcare. And because we can share so much information amongst the masses with social media and podcasts and
Oh, Colin, I lost you. Colin, you there? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Hello? Uh-oh. We're having some technical issues here. One moment. Leah, can you hear me? Oh, all right. And no. This is weird.
What about now?
Oh, yeah. Now I can hear you.
Oh, I can't hear you though, Cole.
Oh, what? Hold on. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hold on. I'm going to leave and come back. Let's see if that helps.
Wait, hold on. Can you hear me? Hello, Colin? Oh, man. This has not happened before. This is what happens when you go live. I don't know if you're live, if people can hear me, but this is what happens when you go live. You just got to figure it out on the spot. So if you're live with us right now, thank you for your patience. I'm just going to wait for Colin to rejoin here.
There you are. I can hear you now.
Okay, cool.
I can hear you.
That was weird.
Sorry. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, me neither. All right.
Sorry about that.
So that was a strong start. That was really interesting. If you're watching live now and you want to learn more about like the kind of the conventional system and how it works, we went really in depth on the blood pressure episode, I believe, and like statins and cholesterol. So that's recorded if you want to go watch that. So let's get into like the real topic of the day, which is actually the anti-aging medicine. So you talked a lot about like, aging being a result of your lifestyle, right? So let's talk a lot about like, okay, what are those biggest drivers in health and proactive aging, like you said, and then also like what are some of the like resources, things like peptides, hormones, like some of the really exciting tools that we use to just get patients better results faster. pretty much, and amplify what they're doing with lifestyle medicine. So what would you say are the 3 worst things you could do to like, or I'll phrase it like this. If you wanted to die as early as possible, what would be
God.
like the 3 lifestyle things you would do?
If you want to die really quick,
Yeah.
eat really bad food.
No drugs though. You can't do drugs. Just
Yeah, I wouldn't. I wasn't gonna say that.
okay.
Eat really bad food. Sleep really poorly, and don't move around. Sit on your butt all day long.
Gotcha. So like probably
Yeah.
25%. That's
Which
probably
is a lot of people, actually.
yeah.
So, and
Wait.
it's funny because Dr. Rose and I talk about this all the time, where when we were on the podcast together, but most people don't want to do some of those things. It's like a hard stop right there. Like, oh, I don't have time for any of that. Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you, so it's
Man,
hard.
so it's eat good food, sleep 8 hours, exercise, and you're ahead of the curve. Wow. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Can you be more specific about eat good food? Like when you say like, okay, let's get even more specific. If you were trying to die as fast as possible, what are the 5 foods you would eat the most of?
You would eat a lot of processed foods, things from a box.
Be specific.
Things if you were to read the ingredients, you wouldn't know how to pronounce them. Be specific. Things that are fried, ultra processed foods, like anything that's high sugar, high fat, something
give
that
like
doesn't grow
specific
in the
food?
ground.
Like actually like give me like a double
Like food in a box.
Okay.
Like cereals, or you try to eat like a microwavable something, right? You go to the store and you're hungry, and like a microwavable dinner, or all the different we call them like snack foods, right? In the snack food aisle. I'm not going to name names. I don't want anybody coming after us, but you go down any big box grocery store and there's aisles and aisles of chips and crackers and cookies and, all these foods that don't actually exist in nature, right? They were made in a factory somewhere. Same thing with foods that are frozen, like frozen dinners, frozen pizzas, meats that are processed, like deli meats that come in a little package, and they're slimy and nasty. I don't even know how people want to eat them. So a lot of that stuff, all the sugary foods, pastries, cookies, candy. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of commercials now for candy that we've had since forever, right? Even before our time. And they're starting to change the flavors. They have like new flavors of the candies. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it just is endless. So that kind of stuff is really, really bad. And if you want to die really soon, go through a drive-through at any fast food restaurant multiple times a day. Just eat at drive-throughs. Drink a lot of alcohol if you want to die really fast. Alcohol is a known carcinogen. It does cause cancer, and it ages you very, very rapidly. So it affects the skin health. It dehydrates you. You can tell when people drink. I hate to say that, but you can see it in their face. Their skin texture is really, really dried out. They don't look good. They're very drawn, no color. So those are some things that you want to do if you want to die really fast in terms of food and ingestion.
I'm going to ask this question because I know a lot of people do drink, me myself included. If I'm going to a nice dinner, I'll have a couple glasses of wine. What is the if you have to drink, if you just have to do it, like what is the proper protocol for drinking alcohol?
What do you mean? Like, is there
if you're going to drink
a hierarchy?
No, only eat food before you drink, only drink wine from, Europe. I don't know if there's if you have to drink, what's the lesser of the evils as far as or if you're going to drink, just drink. There's just nothing.
Yeah, there is no lesser of evils. So some people with alcohol, they will, they'll try to do alcohol with low sugar, right? So when we talk about alcohol, we talk about spirits. So that low alcohol spirits include like vodka, gin, tequila has low sugar. So some people think, well, if I'm going to drink, I'll drink those things because the sugar content is low, which is true. Also, very dry wines. I'm not a big wine person, but I'm pretty sure like certain Pinots, like white wines, Sauvignon Blanc wines, they have low sugar because they're drier. So some people go for those because they're low sugar, quote unquote. But all alcohol is the same, I hate to say. So if you're drinking, you're drinking. There isn't really like, oh, well, I just do a couple a week, so it's fine. So in my line of work, I have a hard time condoning that. People do it, and I don't judge. No judgment. If you drink alcohol, I don't drink alcohol. I haven't drank alcohol in many years, and I have no interest in it. I don't really like it. But there isn't really like if you're gonna drink, do it this way. It's all not good. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'm probably bursting a lot of people's bubble, but we're not trying to judge anybody that's listening. I'm just giving you the facts. So
at least you're honest.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start talking about some more positive things. Like foods. Like what are the and then we're gonna get into like some of the other things we can do and therapies and techniques. But like let's start with the basics, like the lifestyle stuff. Like
Sure.
Sleep 8 hours, exercise. But what about food? Like what are the if you wanted to live as long as possible, what are the like 5 foods that have to be in your diet?
Yeah. So Dr. Rose and I, my colleague at MedMatrix, we did a great podcast on ultra processed foods. We did like a food 101 podcast. So if people are interested, they can go listen. But one of the things I emphasize as a functional medicine clinician and having a master's degree in nutrition is really food needs to be something that existed and is real. And what I mean by real is it came from the earth in some way, right? Did it grow in the ground? Was it an animal at some point? Was it in an ocean? So when you go to a store and you buy a box of cookies or crackers, that food didn't exist somewhere naturally, right? No one went to the farm and picked crackers off a plant. That's not a thing, right? That had to be created. So when we talk about eating, we talk a lot about whole food diets. And I'm not talking about the grocery store. I'm talking about eating food that is real, eating food that is that came from the ground in some way or came from the earth. There is, if you know what the blue zone is, Cole, or people that live in blue zones around the country, blue zones are parts of the world where people live the longest and are supposed to be the healthiest, quote unquote. So most people in blue zones around the country eat more plant foods. They emphasize whole foods, nuts, healthy fats, olive oils, those types of things. So people that live in parts of the world where that's the diet, most of it, they live the longest. In America, where most of our diet is from a box, not something that was grown naturally in the earth, that's where we live the shortest, or we live long, just very sickly. So that's kind of what we're talking about when we talk about food.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Let's see. So when you're working with a patient on their diet, like, are you telling every patient, like, are you giving every patient the same diet per se? Like, how do you personalize nutrition when you're working with patients?
So, yeah, we talk about this a lot too, because we get a lot of questions and comments about what diet is best. And no diet is best for anybody. Certain diets are good for certain people, and there are certain dietary sort of programs that people can utilize depending on what their goals are. So I think at the core, like I was just saying, food needs to be a real thing. It needs to be something that was grown in the ground. It needs to be something that comes from the earth. Number one, that's kind of like the basic. But then you can start to tweak food, right? Should there be more protein? Should there be more fiber? Should there be more fats? Should there be people fasting where you're not eating as much, you're eating only at a condensed amount of time during the day? Should you be eating more or less carbohydrates? Should you be eating more or less protein? So this is where personalized nutrition comes in. And this is something that definitely doesn't happen in the conventional healthcare system. But personalized nutrition and personalized sort of what's best for your body is something that we do every day at MedMatrix with our patients, because the nutrition aspect is a huge part of their treatment plan. And if a patient can't make changes to nutrition, I tell patients all the time in a very honest way, just say, listen, I don't know if I can get you better if you're not able to change parts of your diet that really are tailored to what your goals are. I get this all the time where patients will say, I just don't know how to eat. No one's ever taught me. I hear all this stuff online, social media, podcasts, books, recipe, whatever, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know what's best for me. And I think that's where people are really struggling, is they don't know what's best for them because there's so much noise around food in all aspects of pop culture and media. So it becomes a little bit of a lost, the patients get a little lost with it, unfortunately. So,
yeah. What do you think one of what is one of the worst diet misconceptions that you see out there?
You and I have talked about this many times, is the worst diet misconception is eating less to lose weight. I don't know how many times you and I have talked about that. I've said that on the podcast, and I don't know how many times, but you can't, if you want to lose weight, eating less is totally counterproductive. You will gain weight if you eat less. Because the body thinks it's in starvation mode. So that's a very, very common misconception of people. And I hear it almost every day with patients. I don't know why I'm gaining weight. I'm not eating very much, or I'm eating very little quantity, or, very, very light food, not a lot of nutrient dense food. But people don't understand that what they're doing is actually counterintuitive. It's counterproductive to their goals. So that's my best advice for food and diet. It's a number one problem I see all the time.
It's really interesting. Okay. Yeah. Now let's talk about the exciting stuff. So kind of what we're able to do at MedMatrix. So, what is the difference between anti-aging medicine you can do on your own, get things online, versus what patients would have access to at, a clinic like MedMatrix?
What's the difference?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of people do, they buy their own supplements online.
Oh, sure.
And,
yeah.
But what's the difference between going about anti-aging on your own versus working with the actual doctor like yourself who's able to?
So, fortunately and unfortunately, I think social media in general has exploded, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my lifetime, when I was young, media was just, you had to turn on the TV to watch the TV that was live. You couldn't stream, you couldn't, you put on the radio and that was it. You had CDs or whatever. We didn't have podcasts. We didn't have all this other stuff. We didn't have phones. So, so much of media has evolved to give so much information to people across the world, which I think is great. But there's a downfall to that, because it's such a huge part of our culture. It's a huge money-making entity, media in any form, whether it's radio, podcast, television, social media. So people have to make money on what they're doing. And a lot of what is happening now is there are people on social media, online, promoting products that might fit in this box, right? They talk about it in a certain way that promotes quote unquote anti-aging or health or wellness in some way. And it makes it very attractive to a person that may be struggling with a lot of issues, right? Whether they're struggling with stress or weight or fatigue or hormone imbalance or nutritional problems. So it's almost like a quick grab. They see an ad on Instagram or something that feels very, it feels very familiar to them, right? These people that put out these ads for products know how to draw you in and really tailor to your issues and your insecurities or things you're struggling with. So a lot of it is just fluff, I think. There's not a lot of great stuff that's online unless it's targeted to certain people. But when you work with a professional like me or my other colleagues at MedMatrix, what we're doing is we're really deconstructing you as a person and understanding a complete metabolic profile, a hormone profile, a nutrition profile, and really tailoring care to your needs rather than just throwing random supplements you might buy from a guy that spewed something on Instagram, right?
Mhm.
But when people, I don't want to use the word desperate, but people have said that before. It's like, I'm desperate to get better. So I saw this stuff online, or I saw whatever, this protein, this collagen thing, this supplement, whatever. So I bought it. I don't even know if it works, but that's a lot of how people are making their money now, is just
Yeah.
selling this stuff in the wellness, quote unquote, arena. Um, and does it work for people? Yeah, it's not that it's a bad product, but it's just not that simple. People need
Mhm.
a lot more help than just a random product from Instagram to get them better.
Sure.
So, like I was saying earlier, some of the tenets of health: good nutrition, good sleep, movement. You can't buy those things on on Instagram from an ad. So,
Mhm.
that's where a lot of people are missing certain things.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. How many patients,
Yeah.
when they come to you, have they like already tried all this and they're like is this a majority of patients that have already gone through the
Um,
Instagram rabbit hole and they have all
oh
these
yeah.
supplements and
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think I'm seeing a lot more patients educating themselves, which is really fun, because I don't have to necessarily start from scratch to teach them how to understand their health a little bit better. They're listening to podcasts, they're listening to um, or they're reading books, or they're educating themselves to say, wow, there's so much of health I didn't understand because my doctor doesn't tell me any of this, but they just don't know how to begin the journey. So a lot of patients, when they come to us at MedMatrix, or I'll speak for my colleagues because I know it happens to them, but when patients come, they'll say, yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm feeling XYZ. I've been trying to get help from my doctor. They don't know how to help me, or they just don't have time for me. So I've been doing a lot of my research online. I've been reading books. I've been listening to podcasts. I listened to your podcast. It's like, oh, cool, great. So they're starting to understand what they need to do, that they need to eat better. They need to focus on lifestyle things. They need to focus on nutritional deficiencies and hormone health and all these things we talk about all the time, but they just don't know where to begin. And it can feel overwhelming. So us as clinicians are here to give them the tools, but we're also, I use the terminology, I'm like an accountability buddy for you. I'm here to help guide you through the process, while they go through their journey of getting well. I'm here to keep them going, because that's
Mhm.
often where people fail, is that they get started, but no one is kind of keeping them going. So, or they
Yeah.
don't know where to go once they get started.
Yeah, well, it's a long-term
Yeah.
thing, right? I mean,
Right.
I have heard patient stories where, like, they change one thing and, get on the right supplement or medication, and then, like, the next week, their whole life has changed. I do hear those stories, but for the most part, like,
Yeah.
health is a long-term thing, right? So for patients that are
Yeah.
coming in for, like, anti-aging medicine, right? They're not as healthy as they once were. They feel like their health has kinda slipped, like you were saying, like, how long, um, do you typically see it taking to get some type of results or noticeable improvements in their health?
Um, that varies depending on what people are struggling with. So my goal with all my patients is to really deconstruct their treatment plan as, what are our short-term goals and what are our long-term goals. So something like 100-pound weight loss, that's a long-term goal, right? That could take years. And it should take years, because if you do it any sooner than that, it's not healthy to do that.
Mhm.
So my short-term goals can really be things that we can do in the days, weeks after patients start the journey of a um, health change with us. And a lot of that is addressing like nutritional deficiencies and really starting to educate them on the way they live. And it's not shame, it's not judgment, it's not trying to shun them in any way. It's, listen, the way you're doing things right now, with the not sleeping and the not eating and the not eating well, and working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, it's going to be really hard to get you better if we don't change some of these things. So it's really important to get patients in a place where they can see what the short term is and then what the long term is, because I think that's what's been missing, as I was just saying before. So if we can start to do things like dietary augmentation, nutritional deficiency work, um, working on stress habits, lifestyle, sleep stuff, Hormone, fixing hormone imbalance. That's a really easy thing to do right away. It can really help people feel a lot better. And when people start to feel better in days, weeks following a visit with one of us clinicians, their motivation starts to kick in. And it's like, oh, wow, I can actually do this. I can make change. I feel better. And they just need to turn the gas on a little bit with something. And that's really the goal of what we're trying to do while we work on the long-term goals.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite tools to turn the gas on?
So a lot of people, and this is not medical advice for those that are listening. This is educational only, but some of the things that turn the gas on for patients is a lot of patients are nutritionally deficient. So many, whether it's B12, vitamin D, iron. And these are basic things that people need to really function and feel good and have good cognitive function, good energy. A lot of people are in a part of their life where their hormones are starting to become low, men and women. When women go through perimenopause, where their hormones start to shift, or in menopause, when their hormones become completely deficient. Same thing with men when their testosterone starts to become low. Those things in the beginning phase of care can really start to rev things up, because that's really your gas in your engine. So if you've run out of gas and we give you some, you can feel really good right away. You can start sleeping better, your energy's better, your cognitive function is a lot better, and it can really spearhead their health journey to feeling a lot better. So those are the things I do a lot with patients, most patients anyway.
Heard. Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on it and talked about supplements and this word stack that's out there, like supplement stack, peptide stack.
Sure.
What is that? Because a lot of people have been hearing this. Like, can you explain what a stack is, whether it's peptides or supplements, and like why it's useful?
A stack is just how you combine things together. So it's not an actual like specific thing. It's just how you're using certain tools that we can assist with to promote feeling better. So for example, if you're trying to optimize hormone health, right, you might be using hormone replacement therapy combined with peptide therapy that helps improve hormones. You might also be using certain supplements that help optimize hormone function. So for example, if you're trying to optimize testosterone, you really need to be taking vitamin D, zinc, omega-3 fatty acids. So there are ways to complement your therapies with other therapies to almost make each thing work better. And that's really what we mean by stack. So what we're trying to do is not address the symptom specifically. We're not trying to just give different things to treat symptoms. We're trying to really drive up the physiology of the body to be optimal. So, another thing that could be considered a stack is when people take GLP-1 medications, which are the weight loss drugs. There are certain things you have to look out for with that. You have to be mindful of how much protein you're taking every day. You have to be mindful of, certain nutrients that you need to take. So when we give those medications, it's not just, okay, here you go, goodbye. It's, well, we've got to stack that with talking about your diet. You need to be on certain supplements to make sure we're not getting deficiencies and optimizing the metabolic system. So that's really where stacks come in. But it is like a social media term, I think. I think social media kind of invented stacks. And it's a big thing in gym culture. It's a big thing in athletic culture, because a lot of people that are athletes do multiple things to try to enhance their performance. And that's really what we're trying to do, is really enhance the physiology as much as possible.
Okay. Yeah. So when people think about like physiology and performance a lot, often the first thing they think about is energy, right? Because the more energy you have, like that's just a sign of vitality. The more energy you have, the more things you can do. Like, life is better with more energy. So let's talk a little bit about that. So, but before we do that, like when you hear about like energy at the cellular level, what does that mean? Because we hear that term a lot.
Yeah, we've talked about this a few times on the podcast. So energy at the cellular level is really something called ATP, which is a molecule that the cells produce, specifically produced in something called the mitochondria, which is it's like an organ of the cell. So it's a piece of the cell. Each individual cell has mitochondria, makes ATP, and really what happens is this is your energy engine, if you will. It's really where energy is produced. So if people are struggling, not feeling well, if the body is dysfunctional, we call it mitochondrial dysfunction, where this part of the cell is not working well, not producing enough energy, not giving you enough fuel for your fire, basically. ATP and energy molecules regulate your thyroid, which is the major hormone that regulates your metabolism. It regulates the production of hormones. It regulates nutrition and how you burn fat or how you build muscle. And it also, from an aging perspective, it controls how your cells repair themselves. So when you, because you're a living, breathing thing, you're not made of steel, you have to turn over new cells all the time. You know, your body makes new cells, you make new red blood cells, you make new skin cells. So you have to have some level of microscopic energy to do all that. So if you don't, that's where the aging process might get faster. And when we talk about, I know Dr. Rose and I have had separate conversations about this, but we've talked about how you can see aging in people. You know, the skin looks really dull. The color of like your lips or your eye color or just the tone of your skin looks very dull. That's because your skin and at a cellular level, your body's kind of struggling. So that's really the foundation of what we talk about with energy and cellular aging, is how all that works. Yeah, it's very interesting because it's so vital to life, but no one really thinks about it that way because it's not taught unless you're like a bio major in college.
Right.
So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What are the biggest ways that you can improve ATP and this energy at the cellular level?
I mean, it really goes back to what we were talking about before. You know, if your nutrition is poor, if your sleep is poor, if your stress is really high, but there are certain
Can you explain that connection? Like, how is nutrition directly tied to ATP production?
Well, if you don't give your body proper nutrition, then your body can't make these energy molecules, right? If you don't give your body the raw materials, you know, if you're in a business making anything, right? Say you make cell phones, you know, and you don't have the chips, you don't have the screws, you don't have the screen, you don't have the battery, you can't make the phone, right? The body's the same way. If you're not giving it the nutrients at a basic level to make hormones, to make cell pieces, to regenerate cellular parts, it's going to slow down. So the body is the same as any industrial production line making a product of any kind, right? You don't have the raw materials, you're not going to make the end result. Same thing with the body. The body will continue to survive. The body's highly resilient, but what it starts to do is it starts to pull energy from other places. You get muscle breakdown, you get, you pull things from brain tissue, from skin tissue. You know, your body will compensate, but you're going to start to feel it. So, but there are other things that we use a lot for mitochondrial support. Certain supplements, vitamins, there's certain nutrients like NAD or the precursors to NAD that can support mitochondrial health. So there are a lot of cool tools that we have that we use every day to support mitochondrial health. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially if people are trying to especially for those patients or people that are just trying to strive to be better, right? They feel really good, but they want to feel better.
Yeah.
You know, I have patients that are athletes or they're, trying to run a marathon or something. How can I take my body to the next level? So there are tools that we use. It's really fun to do that work because it's almost, you're pushing the body to its limit, which is fun.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite tools to help the body push itself to the limit, be the best?
Well, some things that kind of are essential is making sure hormone health is really optimal. So it's hard to do that if your hormones are low. Using nutrition as like a hack, hacking nutrition in a way that will promote cellular energy. Peptides. I'm a huge peptide junkie. We've had many podcasts on peptides.
Yeah.
Basically, peptides are short amino acid chains or short chemicals that act as signaling molecules. They mimic natural biological processes. So we can use something like that to kind of enhance what your body's already doing. So those are some of my favorite things. Certain supplements, NAD, I love. There are certain wellness trends that can be helpful for certain people, like sauna, cold plunge, red light therapy, hyperbaric oxygen. All these things can target the body at a cellular level to help it function better. So those are some things that I am pretty in love with right now, that I use a lot of, and a lot of patients are using a lot more. You just see them all, these things pop up on people's Instagram all the time, and it's like, oh, what is all this stuff? It's a lot of wellness tech, so which I always find really fun.
Yeah. So on that topic, like I'm thinking about it, like, okay, if I was to do everything, like hormones, peptides, supplements, nutrition, diet, sleeping 8 hours, cold plunge, sauna, red light, NAD, IVs, like that's your whole life. Like most.
No, it's not. I do it, and I work a full-time job.
Okay.
So
how do you do it? So how do you?
But I don't have kids, so that I know that's a big part of it. But Dr. Rose made a comment on our last podcast we did together on the health of the brain and detoxing the brain. She made a comment saying that a lot of patients, they don't feel that some of these things we talk about are important, or they don't have the time. So, and it's true. I was saying this earlier, when you talk about patients trying to, eat differently or take time to themselves, self-care, whether that's, taking a walk or, a fitness class or something. Oh, I don't have the time. So what ends up happening is we get in this rhythm of just neglecting taking care of ourselves because time is the issue. And what I really think is the issue is that people they're not passionate enough to do the work that's needed. If they really were passionate enough to do the work that's needed and perform at a higher level than they're performing, they would make time. You make time for things that are important for you, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing with like money, right? You'll buy something that is important to you, or if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to get it, kind of thing. So if health is important enough to you, I've had patients tell me for my entire career, I will do whatever you tell me, whatever it takes. I don't care what I have to do. I am determined to get better. If I start talking about, well, we need to make changes to your diet, let's talk about your activity or your sleep, and I start to get resistance right away, well, I don't know, it's hard. I'm not much of a cook, or, I just, or it's, how do you feel about taking, a couple supplements like a vitamin D or a B12? Well, I forget a lot. Okay, well, all right, then just forget it. It's almost like if it's not important to do some of the small stuff, then maybe the long-term goal is not as important to you as you might think. And that's totally fine. Not everybody has to live at an elite level with their health. And it's no judgment. It has nothing to do with me. But I'm trying to educate people to do that. But if that's not what they want to do, then that's not what they want to do. But that's really what it comes down to, is how do we introduce feeling better, getting better, these things that we're asking people to do. It's not a million things. It's not that whole list you just rambled off a minute ago. It's a few things. And if you can't do some of the basics, then maybe this journey is not right for you at this time, but no, none of us at MedMatrix, myself included, none of my colleagues will ask any patient to be perfect with everything that they need to do. It's just not how it goes. That's not what we're expecting. So if patients want to do a bunch of stuff, we are happy to guide them, but that's not the expectation. That's not how you get health. You don't have to do it all.
What are some of when you're evaluating someone's health, what are some of your favorite, you mentioned nutrients and hormones, but what are other like key biomarkers that you're looking at to evaluate someone's long-term health?
So every new patient that walks in the door at Mid-Matrix gets a pretty extensive evaluation of basic biomarkers, including hormones and thyroid, cholesterol markers, nutrition markers, markers of inflammation, cardiac markers. And really what this gives us is a snapshot of where the person is. And there's obviously a lot of other things we can utilize in terms of special tests or other things we might want to build on that with. But these extensive profiles that we do on all of our patients give us a blueprint of where they are, and then it gives us a way to continue the journey. So these are important pieces of the patient for what we can start to work on. And it gives us really a blueprint of what kind of deficiencies there are, how it relates back to their symptoms, and really what the long-term goals need to be. So that's something we do with everybody. And we pride ourselves on that too, because it's something we feel that almost everybody needs at different parts of their life, but they're just not getting. And a lot of patients ask for it of their doctors and they still don't get it, even though they ask. So we find that our approach is really, really important to understand what people are looking for and what people need to feel better long-term.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my show notes here and I realize that we've just gone down so many rabbit holes. And that is,
Yes.
This was supposed to be more about therapies. So my apologies.
Often does.
I'm a little rusty as a host here, but let's wrap this up with we got 10 minutes left here. So let's talk a little bit more about like some of the actual therapies, because I know that was kind of what we were talking about today. So talk to me a little bit about like peptides and anti-aging, like, and yeah, just how you use them. Like, why are they so important?
I think peptides are becoming a huge market for specifically in the anti-aging quote unquote world, because they work really well, number one. So that's a plus. But I think why more and more people are drawn to peptides is because it's a non-pharmaceutical way to improve longevity, improve health, and really target health at really the molecular level. So what peptides are trying to do is, like I was saying before, and we did a whole podcast on peptides, so you can go back and watch that if you're interested. Cole and I talked a lot about peptides. We actually did a couple episodes on peptides. But peptides are highly targeted on their effects to stimulate certain things in the body, like repair. We can optimize muscle metabolism and muscle mass. We can address issues in the gut. We can help with weight loss. The GLP-1 drugs that are everywhere right now, that's a peptide. People might not know that. That is an example of a peptide. We use peptides all the time to improve like skin health, even improve growth hormone. So people are really taking to peptides, I think, because it's a way for them to go beyond the traditional healthcare offerings of like, a lot of people come to me with certain orthopedic injuries, right? I've had a bad shoulder since I was in college. I had a football injury, and the only thing that helps me is just like anti-inflammatory drugs, Advil, Tylenol, or whatever. And I just don't like taking them. So we can use something like a peptide to enhance the function of the body, enhance repair mechanisms, enhance anti-inflammatory effects. That's not Tylenol, right? Which will put a hole in your gut eventually if you take it for too long. So people are really drawn to this form of healthcare because it's highly effective, and it really starts to hone in on the body's natural biological processes rather than just giving medication to shut off something and create a temporary fix. So I'm a huge peptide fan. We use peptides a lot at MedMatrix, and we do get them from reputable sources. So that's an important factor, but huge part of the anti-aging trend right now is peptides. 100%.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you're watching this live or recording, you want to learn more about peptides, definitely go watch the full episode we did. Or if you're like serious about your health, go to the website and talk to a patient coordinator and see if we could help you out. Okay, and then last thing too, we got to talk about is just like brain fog, mental clarity, that sort of
Sure.
thing. Like, in your clinical opinion, what's the difference between brain fog and low energy?
Well, it depends on the patient. So brain fog, so low energy could be physical, low energy could be mental. Brain fog a lot of times is mental, which could translate into something physical, I guess. So brain fog is really something that can affect people on a day-to-day function level where they're
Mhm.
having trouble either remembering stuff, they're having trouble with tasks, they're having trouble at work. I've had patients say, my brain fog is so bad, I had to like call out of work a day or two because I just can't focus on the emails and the things I have to do and whatever. So brain fog can really be a total reduction of a person's capacity to have clear thinking and
Mhm.
execution and executive function, really, to get stuff done. Low energy could be mental, right? I just feel mentally run down. I'm stressed. I've had a lot to do. So my brain, like that happens to me after, at the end of my patient work week and I've got like one or two more patients of the day and I'm like, okay, couple more and then I'm done and my brain's kind of tired, right? I've had to think at a very high level for multiple days in a row to help patients. I love it, but it can be mentally exhausting.
Mhm.
So there's that piece of it, but then physical exhaustion can come from the same thing, right? If you're kind of burning the candle at both ends, you're working, you're taking care of a family, you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, you can get physical exhaustion, which could translate to mental exhaustion. So there's a lot of crossover there, but one of the things that we talk about from an anti-aging perspective is when people have a lot of brain fog and a lot of neurological just feeling neurologically low, like their cognitive function is low or their brain is not functioning at its high level, it can be a sign that your brain is aging, right? If
Mhm.
your brain is not being stimulated enough. We did a whole podcast recently, Dr. Rose and myself, on brain detoxification. If you're not detoxifying the brain well, if the brain's not functioning well, it ages quicker.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing that I know everybody doesn't want. They don't want their brain to age too
That's almost the
fast.
worst, right? I mean, if
Yeah,
you were all physically there, but you didn't have your brain, then it doesn't matter,
right.
you know?
Yeah. And so many people have that as an issue, as a chief complaint. I'm tired physically, mentally. I'm run down physically, mentally. I can't executive function as well as I should. I'm
Mhm.
having trouble doing tasks. I'm having trouble with work assignments. And that's where people start to shut down because then what that does is it turns into other types of issues with either depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, low mood, right? It starts to affect your work, it starts to affect your personal relationships, your friendships, your ability to be a parent or a spouse. It just
Mhm.
starts to snowball out of control for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we relate this back to aging really as if you don't do something to counterbalance that, it's very hard to intervene and make it better. And it just eventually gets worse for people.
Yeah.
So, and those are the people that come in and say, gosh, I feel like I'm 30 years older than I actually am.
Yeah,
So,
man. Well, so what are some of your favorite we obviously already talked about the lifestyle stuff, so what are some of your favorite, like, stacks, therapies, supplements, peptides to keep, your patients, like, as mentally sharp? Like, focused on the mental clarity, mental, like, cognitive function, preservation, like, what are some of your favorite strategies for that?
so from a mental clarity perspective, I mean, there's a lot of really good things that we use to target the brain's function. We talked a lot about this on the brain health podcast, but things like B vitamins, vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids. There's something called adaptogens that are a type of herb that can help regulate your stress hormones, help regulate sort of your neurological function. There's certain herbs that I like ashwagandha or rhodiola. These are things that have been shown to help reduce fatigue, help reduce stress.
Mhm.
So those are some basic things, but then there's other types of actual brain hacks, like We talked about on the brain health podcast, like neuroplasticity, or doing certain brain training exercises to keep your brain sharp. I always recommend people do things like crossword puzzles or like a Sudoku puzzle, keep your brain healthy. One of the best ways to keep your brain healthy is to exercise, right? A lot of people are struggling with depression and anxiety. It's like you got to get outside, take a walk, go to the gym, take a class, something like that, because physical activity significantly increases your dopamine, which is one of your feel-good hormones. It increases your serotonin, which is one of your other feel-good hormones. So it can be basic lifestyle things for sure. But then there also are some others. NAD, we talked about. I love NAD and NR, which is a precursor to NAD, can be really helpful. There's some certain peptides that we use that target mitochondria. There's one specifically called MOTC that I really love. It targets mitochondrial function and enhances energy metabolism in the cellular level. A lot of cool stuff that we can use in terms of tools in our toolbox and to enhance cognitive function, enhance energy. But like we said, if the basics aren't there, it's hard. It's hard to accomplish that stuff.
Heard. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So we're in an hour now. So we're gonna do we're gonna do two things. We're gonna do a patient case study and then a little game. Have you ever seen I see this a lot on social media. It's kind of a social media trend where you say like one thing or the other thing, and then you have to pick one. And it's kind of a silly, stupid game, but we're just gonna. So all right, I'm gonna go through all like the longevity things that we talked about today, and we're just gonna.
So I have to pick one or the other.
Yeah. And
right,
I'm gonna write down what I think we're gonna end on.
Okay.
Okay.
Go for
what
it.
you think is most important. See if I can predict it. Okay. The first thing, supplements or peptides? Gotta pick one.
Peptides.
Okay. Peptides or hormones?
Hormones.
Hormones or red light therapy?
Hormones.
Hormones or cold plunge?
Hormones.
Hormones or good sleep?
Ooh. Crap. Good. I guess good sleep. Okay. Yeah, that will outperform for sure.
Okay.
Even though I want to say hormones, I gotta say good sleep.
Okay, gotcha. Good sleep or no stress?
I want to say, well, no stress is not really feasible. So maybe if we change it to like low stress, I would say low stress is better. Because if you have high stress, sleep is, I would say low stress.
Okay, gotcha. Low stress or nutrition?
Nutrition.
Okay. Nutrition or GI testing?
Nutrition.
Okay. Nutrition or I'm out of ideas now. What was the last one? I tried to memorize them all. That was it. Okay, I think that was everything. And that was my guess. Right. I wrote it down. Nutrition.
All right. Yeah. For those following along.
Right, you can't even see it. But
yeah,
I do. Okay.
I believe you.
Yeah. All right, nutrition's the winner. All right, and then lastly, let's go through a patient case study of
Sure.
And if you can make the case study someone who, like, not the patient who comes in who's already optimized, but the patient who came in and
Cole. That was my case study.
Okay, do the case study you had.
I'm kidding. Go. What were you gonna say?
I would say the patient who like the patient who used to be more healthy and like you described earlier, who kind of like let things slide a little bit, and now they're like, where do I go from here?
So yeah, because a lot of from like an anti-aging perspective, I really love working with patients that are already, I want to say, fairly healthy and want to take it to the next level. Like I have a patient who wants to, as I am trying to do in the near future, compete in bodybuilding.
Okay.
So it's like, help me get there, right? How do I do this? Okay. Great. How do we maximize everything? Those are really fun because it kind of sparks my interest because it's just so ingrained in how I live my life. So it's really fun to do that with other people. Obviously, not everybody is living that life, and that's totally fine. I have fun with my other patients, but I find those really, really fascinating because people are just so into it.
Okay.
But we do have a lot of patients, and I'll speak for my colleagues, that were once killing it, but life maybe slapped them in the face. Life just happens. We've talked on the podcast about different generational things that happen to patients with when they have kids or they get a job or they have responsibilities that might take them away from being more proactive about their health. So I have a patient that it might not fit this exactly, but one patient who was a very early 60-year-old male, I think, maybe late 50s, I don't remember. I treat him currently, but he works in maritime, so he works on a boat. In Maine, we have a lot of maritime workers because it's just part of the culture, being an ocean state, and there's a lot of the economy that's in shipping and stuff. So I have this patient, he works in maritime, and very active guy, and had been active his whole life, but had some pretty significant personal issues with a divorce that was tough on him, and some other family stuff, and it just kind of put him off the rail a little bit, and stopped kind of taking care of himself. And he was diagnosed with diabetes, and it took him many years for his diabetes to really get controlled, but it still wasn't controlled when I saw it. And what I mean by controlled is that his blood sugar numbers were sort of optimal ranges. He was on a lot of medication prescribed by his endocrinologist who was managing his diabetes, but his diabetes, the markers were still really, really bad. He felt really bad. He was trying hard. But I think his motivation was really low because he just had this life issue, and like, I got diabetes and I just don't feel great. So when I saw him, one of his issues was that he had very low testosterone, like very, very low. And I've talked about this on the podcast 100 times. If you're a patient of mine listening, I've probably said it to you. Hormones like testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, our sex hormones, play a significant role in how we regulate our blood sugar. So if someone is pre-diabetic or diabetic and they have low sex hormones, like a female in menopause or a man that has low testosterone, it's going to be very hard for you to regulate your blood sugar. So he started testosterone replacement therapy, and it gave him not only better blood sugar control. After like 3 months, his blood sugar markers had significantly dropped. We didn't change anything. We didn't change his medication. That's not my place to do that. He has separate doctors that manage his medication. So this was, that's something that could change with them. But his blood sugar numbers dropped. And because the hormone optimization gave him such a powerful improvement in the way he felt physically and mentally, it was sort of this gas tank being full moment of I'm a whole new person and I want to do XYZ. It was just like a 180 kind of thing. Cause I think his life took a turn after his divorce, and he just felt so run down, and then being diagnosed with diabetes and dealing with it, and it's not getting better, and my doctors don't know how to control it. He just felt very defeated. So starting to optimize his body not only gave him better physical function, but it gave him this ability to start to look at his life different, and like a confidence that he'd been missing for a long time.
Yeah.
So I want to say he's in his early 60s. I'm almost positive he is. But for someone in their early 60s to tell me, like, I feel young again and I feel vital enough to do the things I want to do, and I want to get back out into, XYZ. I want to get back in the gym. And maybe I'll start dating again, blah, blah, blah. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And that doesn't happen with everybody where it can be just so simple. But sometimes it does. So something like that is really fun, because not only are you improving lifestyle, you're improving the way people feel, but this guy in his 60s, where another doctor might tell him, well, dude, you're in your 60s. Like, I'm sorry. Just, it is what it is. He's telling me, I've got another 30 years that I could live. What could I do in 30 years, right? I could do so many things. Like, heck yeah, So
Yeah.
that was fun. Cases like that are really fun, where
Wow.
people don't accept that, oh, I'm 60, I'm just going to feel like crap until I die.
Yeah, man.
I hate that for people. So I still take care of him. Awesome guy. So those are fun
That gives me
cases.
chills. That's like such an
Yeah.
awesome story. I love hearing those every time.
Yeah, those
like,
are fun. They're
Yeah.
fun to help people to get a new lease on life, really. It's fun to help people feel better, but when it's, I am at a point now where I can do more things that I never thought I could do. It's a lot of fun. That's
Mhm.
where it really makes it worth it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you know what
Yeah.
this, like, the scariest thing is like, because I dealt with this too with my own personal health. It's like,
Mhm.
so you don't know what you don't know, and like the scary thing is like,
Exactly.
what if I never found like functional medicine or a doctor who was able to actually figure out what's going on with me, and yeah, I mean, like, what if he didn't, find your help and kind of just went his whole rest of
Yeah.
his life on diabetes meds, and that's
And a lot of people don't, and a lot of people won't. And I don't say that to sound Debbie Downer, but that's why we do this, right? That's why we do this podcast. That's why we do the work we do. That's why we talk to people across the masses to say, hey, if you're struggling, there might be a different way to get help, to get better. That's why we do this work. So it is very, very fun.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
I feel the same
Yeah.
way. That's
Yeah.
awesome, man. Cool. Well, that we went over time here, and that was awesome. I learned a lot. I hope, for you who joined us live and you're watching recording, you took something away from this too. If you have a friend or family member or someone close to you who is struggling with their health, and they're first off motivated, right? They want to change. They're ready to make changes to their diet and lifestyle, and put their health first. Then send them this episode. But yeah, Dr. Nard, is there anything you want to add to this before we call it a wrap?
I mean, I think it's important for people to take away from anything we talk about on this podcast, or, anything that we disseminate with information is, it's not about striving to be perfect. It's not about, trying to age backwards. It's really trying to restore the body, restore the natural way of things. You don't want to chase trends. You don't want to chase certain things. You want to really understand what your body is, right? I teach people all the time about being intuitive, about learning about your body. If you don't feel well, if you feel like, you're not functioning at your highest, it's a sign that you got to do something different. And you can't just wish and hope, that it'll get better. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. So if you're struggling, as you said, Cole, or someone's struggling, and we can help you, we'd love to. You have to really listen to your body. You have to be intuitive to what your body needs, because it's the only thing you'll ever have. You can't get another one. Maybe someday they can do body transplants, but I think we'll all long be dead before they can do that. So I think you have to take care of the one you have, because I don't think you can get another one in your lifetime. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
So
until that day, we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Till that day, because I don't know if we'll probably be long gone before that ever happens, and probably everybody listening will be too. So take care of what you have, because you can't get another one. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Well said. All right. Yeah. For watching this, and you actually do want to get some medical advice and get some help from a doctor like Dr. Nard or MedMatrix, you can go to medmatrixusa.com and click get started, and talk to a patient coordinator, and see if we can help. So that's it. Awesome. Dr. Colin, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, Cole. Good to be with you. Bye, everyone.